pleasure to welcome to the show Tanya Unkovich. Tanya, kia ora, good afternoon.
Good afternoon. How are you both?
We're doing very well. Diane's slightly worse for wear after too much Christmas cake for breakfast, right?
Well, morning tea, Tanya, but it is absolutely delicious, and a huge thank you from Andrew and myself, because that was a very generous portion of Christmas cake you gave to us both. Although, as Andrew alluded to, he's holding out to Christmas for his. I couldn't wait.
Well, you could use it as a doorstop, actually, Andrew, couldn't you?
Well, I'm planning on consuming it all on Christmas Day and using myself as a doorstop. But here we go.
Good plan.
Hey,
good plan.
Something else I wanted to highlight is something also which was included in the gift that you gave Diane and myself, something very precious indeed, a tribute to your father who sadly passed away this year. And just reading through it, seeing the photographs, he looks like a remarkable man, Tanya.
Yeah, he was. Smiley. He was called Smiley. That was his nickname because he was always laughing. And that's the one gift that he gave us, is the ability to laugh. And he always laughed at the most inappropriate times as well, you know?
I like him already. Exactly.
Yeah. He always got his words wrong because his language, you know, he's such a strong accent, and then we'd all be laughing at him. So, yeah, it was beautiful to receive that this week, I must admit, the memorial card.
Oh, well, thank you so much for including it. But it does sort of bring to mind the topic that we're going to be talking about today, because, you know, perhaps other people have lost loved ones at this time of year in years past, or perhaps this year has been a very difficult year for whatever reason. And there's that sense as we head towards Christmas where everyone's celebrating, or it seems like everyone's celebrating, that actually you can feel quite alone in not only your grief, but just in yourself. Can we talk about that today?
Sure. Well, look, I mean, this is an incredibly different year, isn't it? And last year was as well. But even without what's just happened in the last couple of years, Christmas does bring up grief. It does bring up pain. It does bring up loneliness. However, this year is going to be very different again, isn't it? It's going to, well, the grief is quite magnified, really. And not only have we lost people during the year, many have lost so much, but they also can't be together. Yeah. Some people cannot be together this Christmas. So there will be a lot of sadness and a lot of loneliness that needs to be acknowledged.
Grief is a part of life. Actually, it is an important process as we deal with missing those people who have passed. Loneliness, in some ways, though, the way we respond to that can be more of a choice, perhaps.
Yeah, because sometimes we get into this negative self-talk and we start believing that loneliness means that we are a little bit less than. Oh, I'm a bit of a loser because I'm lonely, I'm on my own. But really, loneliness, even if you're in a really happy marriage, you can still feel lonely. And that's what it is. It is a feeling, and it will pass. It does pass. That's the thing to remember. But if you get into that spiral, you can easily go down that rabbit hole of this will never pass. And that's just not true.
So if there might be some people out there listening today who are feeling like, well, something is off with me this year and I can't quite identify it. So what are some tricks to help us identify what is going on and perhaps identify if it is indeed this feeling of loneliness?
I always encourage people to sit with their feelings, to acknowledge their feelings and not try and run away from it, because a feeling is not going to destroy you and the feeling will pass. So even if it is intense loneliness, then go, okay, loneliness, I'm acknowledging that you're here. I'll sit with you for a little while, but I'm also going to make the decision to not let you take over. I'm going to get up. So you've got to be really intentional about making the decision to look towards happiness and joy and things that will make you laugh and smile instead of making the decision to stay in the negative stuff.
It can be easy, especially in the Christmas season, I suppose, to either push those feelings down and fake it, put on a happy face and just pretend everything's okay when it isn't, or perhaps console yourself with too much boozy Christmas cake or whatever else is your particular way of, I suppose, self-medicating in these circumstances. That can be an easy trap to fall into.
Really, it is, and a lot of people are struggling with that already, so you can best bet that it will probably increase over this Christmas period. And it is just another way to soothe ourselves, to run away from the pain. There are so many ways that we soothe ourselves, but again, it's about making the decision that actually, no, I don't want to do this to myself, because I know that after I've soothed myself, it's only temporary, I'm going to feel so much worse. So it's really about making that decision and future pacing on how bad it's really going to feel after you've had that half a bottle of scotch or whatever it is that you really want.
Yeah, so I mean, I'm guessing, it is making that decision, but then making a plan as to how to combat that feeling. So are we able to talk through some of the ways that we can perhaps plan ahead and go, you know what, I kind of do feel this way, but I'd like to plan my way out of that a little bit. So what are some ways we can do that?
Well, first I would encourage people to reach out to someone whom they trust and say, hey, would you mind being a buddy for me during this period of time? And just be open and transparent and say, I'm actually struggling. I know this is going to be tough for me. Do you mind if I just check in with you every couple of days and say, hey, I'm here? So having that community, having a little group, I'm sure there's a lot of people out there who would happily form a little community to help each other through. I would say do that, truthfully, reach out. And also get active, move your body. Sitting down is not going to help. Recognize the times when you really struggle. It's often in the afternoon, the mid-afternoon, when we're tired. Intentionally plan something joyful, even if it's just a 100-meter walk or anything like that, just to get your body moving. Sometimes I vacuum in the afternoon, truthfully.
Really?
I'll pick up the vacuum. I vacuum at 3:34 when my energy's low, and I'll put my headphones on and I'll listen to something that will lift me up, because that's a low energy time.
Something like the afternoon show on Rima while you're vacuuming, perhaps.
Absolutely.
Gives you that boost that you need mid-afternoon. Now, one of the things, and I think this is really, really wise to say this, is recognizing the difference between loneliness and aloneness, because we can be lonely in the company of others, but we can also be perfectly content when we're by ourselves. That's a wonderful skill to develop.
It is indeed. And knowing and really mastering that art of being on your own and being okay with silence, without the noise that's going on around you, whether it be social media or the news or whatever. Just be okay in peace and silence. And if you can't do it for 10 minutes, then do it for 5 minutes, and then just gradually work up to a nice place of solitude. It's about taking that journey back to you, being okay with you, and of course with God.
Such helpful stuff, Tanya. And, as we head towards this time of year, something that is really, really important to be talking about. So thank you so much for sharing your insights today. We really appreciate it. Now, of course, people can check out other conversations we've had online. How do they do so?
Well, you can just go to my YouTube channel. All of our past interviews are there. And I've got resources on my website as well if you wanted to download anything or just have a read there. Plenty there.
Of course, more information, TanyaUnkovic.com. Tanya, blessings to you. Thank you for the blessings we have received, and thank you for the blessings that you share every week with our listeners.
You are so welcome. Have a lovely weekend.